Well, they are known as Canada's invisible population. Thousands of adults living with neurodevelopmental disabilities also live with a mental illness, but our healthcare system is lacking the support they need. This week, CAMH announced they're creating the first centre in Canada to try and solve this problem. Joining us today is the director of the new centre, Yona. Welcome to Your Morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Why are the mental health needs of adults with neurodevelopmental disabilities not getting the attention they deserve?
Well, I think our system has a really strong understanding now and awareness of mental health and addictions. And then we have another system over here that focuses on neurodevelopmental disabilities. So I think the challenge is that we forget that once you become an adult with a neurodevelopmental disability, you are, just as likely, in fact, more likely to have mental health or addiction issues as other adults.
How are we unable, or up until now, been unable to see the needs of this population? Why were they referred to as the invisible population?
Well, I think, sometimes we say if we don't count, they don't count. So I think that in our numbers and our statistics and our research, we haven't actually made an attempt to look at this issue. So that's one reason. And I think the other is sometimes we have sort of biases or ideas. We think about developmental disabilities as being childhood disabilities.
Right.
So we forget, that these people spend most of their lives as adults. Yeah. And we also can discount or miss that when somebody with a developmental disability is showing signs of depression or anxiety, we think, well, maybe that's just part of their disability, and we don't get them into the mental health care system the way we should.
How does our inability to see this population cost the healthcare system?
Well, one way to think about it is if we don't respond to mental health issues when we should, we're still going to have to respond to them at some point. So if we don't provide proactive mental health care for people, then their situations are going to get worse. It can be a stress on them as well as on their families. They can wind up having emergencies, sometimes repeated emergency department visits. And ultimately, people might have to get hospitalized, and it might be very difficult to make them well again because things have gone on so long that they're quite ill.
What are some of the solutions, which is part of what your center is going to do, is deal with some of the solutions to these gaps in our system?
Absolutely. So I think one really important piece is that when we do our research in the area of mental health and addictions, we need to make sure we're also researching this population so that we can understand why are they at greater risk for having these issues and what are some of the solutions for what we can do about it. Another really important piece is we don't provide a lot of training to our mental health care providers and to our healthcare providers generally when it comes to treating and supporting adults when they have neurodevelopmental disabilities. So we want to make sure that we're embedding into the curriculum that we offer to reach the next generation of mental health care professionals, that they're more comfortable and aware of how to work with this population.
This center, we described it as one of the first, or the first in Canada, I guess, that's dealing with this issue.
Well, there are places around Canada, I think. It might be an inpatient unit or a small outpatient program, and it might be through the social services sector, it might be through the health sector. But there isn't really a place right now that focuses on research and sort of bringing us ahead in terms of how we support this population, and also that is really investing in how we provide our training.
What are some of the challenges for people who can't access centers like this one or the other ones that you just mentioned? What are they dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think this population is vulnerable. When school finishes, if there isn't something for them to be doing day-to-day, meaningful daytime activities like work or just things that are important to them, they don't.
Which can be hard to find.
It can be hard to find and hard to keep also. If our community isn't comfortable supporting people with developmental disabilities in the workplace, then it might be harder for them to get a job. So they're dealing with poverty, they're dealing with social isolation, and they're dealing with the stigma of their disability, and people maybe not understanding and accepting them for who they are. And it can be a pretty stressful world, I think, if we're not giving people and their families the supports that they need.
Yona, thanks for coming on today, talking to us about these two communities that have similar needs and that you guys are bringing together to find solutions. Thanks so much.
Thank you.